All right, are you ready? We're diving into the world of Netflix. And I mean really diving deep, like uncovering all the big moments, the risky moves they made, the challenges they faced. It's a wild story, honestly. Wilder than some of their shows. We've got articles, research, even a YouTube deep dive that spills all the secrets.
What's so interesting to me is how much Netflix's story, it really reflects the whole entertainment industry. It's like a textbook example of disruption, how they adapted, and that constant push and pull between tech and how people watch things.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning, the origin story. And believe me, it's way more dramatic than you'd think. Dog food, anyone.
I'm not kidding. Back in the late 90s, one of the Netflix founders, Mark Randolph, he was pitching idea after idea to his friend Reed Hastings, like hundreds of ideas, personalized surfboards, baseball bats, anything. And all this while they were running out of time.
But they almost went with dog food, really. What made them switch from, like, kibble to DVDs by mail?
It all started with a late fee, a $40 late fee from Blockbuster. Hastings was furious, and that got him thinking. What if there was a better way to rent movies? This was 1997, way before most people had fast internet. So first they thought about mailing VHS tapes, but those were a pain, bulky, and expensive to ship.
Ah, those were the days. Rewinding and hoping the tape didn't get eaten by the VCR.
But wait, DVDs weren't even that popular then, were they? That seems like a huge risk to take.
It was a gamble, for sure. They saw how much potential DVDs had, smaller, lighter, cheaper to ship, and they went all in on this new tech. They launched their online rental website, and get this, they bought every single DVD that was available at the time.
Wow, that's serious commitment. But I bet things didn't go exactly to plan, did they?
No, not at all. They had servers crashing, they ran out of DVDs, they were totally overwhelmed by how many people wanted to use the service. It just goes to show that even the most successful companies, they have their rough starts. What's interesting is, at first, people were buying the DVDs, not renting them. Hold on, so their first business model was like an online DVD store. That's not what Netflix is known for at all.
Right. They had to adapt based on what people were actually doing. Selling DVDs just wasn't going to work, especially with a big competitor about to show up.
You mean Amazon, right? Didn't Jeff Bezos actually try to buy Netflix at some point?
Exactly. It was a make-or-break moment for them.
Yeah.
Becoming part of Amazon would have been safe. But Randolph and Hastings, they had this feeling that rentals could still work. So they said no to Bezos, made a deal to send DVD buyers to Amazon instead, and focused on making their rental service even better.
So instead of getting bought by Amazon, they ended up partnering with them. That's wild. But what made them think rentals could actually succeed?
They looked at what people hated about traditional rentals. Late fees, not enough choices, having to go to the store, and they came up with a subscription model. No late fees, rent as many movies as you want, DVDs delivered right to your door.
This is where things get interesting. That subscription model, it was a total game changer, wasn't it? It completely changed the industry, basically put Blockbuster on the road to disappearing.
It was a brilliant move, for sure. They fixed the biggest problems, made it convenient, gave people more choice, and Blockbuster couldn't compete. Their timing was perfect, too. They rode the dot-com boom, got investors, and grew really fast. Then, of course, that bubble burst.
The dot-com crash. That was a tough time. Netflix was still pretty small then, weren't they? Didn't they actually try to sell themselves to Blockbuster?
They did. For only $50 million. Can you believe that now? Netflix, worth billions today, practically begging Blockbuster to buy them.
And Blockbuster said no. What a missed opportunity.
It's the perfect example of how companies, they can completely miss how things are changing. Blockbuster thought Netflix was just a little problem that would go away. They didn't understand how people were changing how they watched movies. They didn't see the power of this new way of doing things.
But even with Blockbuster messing up, the dot-com crash must have hit Netflix hard. How did they survive that?
They streamlined everything, focused on their main service, and they never stopped innovating. And that's when they made the move that really changed everything, streaming.
This was a huge turning point, right? They were doing well with DVDs, but they were already looking ahead. What made them go for streaming when internet speeds were still so unreliable back then?
It was visionary, but so risky. They were basically betting on the future of broadband, betting that internet would get faster and streaming would become the main way people watch things. While Blockbuster was stuck with their stores, Netflix was building the future. And that's what sets them apart. Even when DVDs were doing great, they were already setting up for streaming. They knew DVDs were just a stepping stone. That forward thinking, that's what makes them different. So they launch streaming, they start going global, and then bam, another big move, original content.
Original content, yeah. What made them do that? Weren't they doing well with just licensed shows and movies?
They were doing fine, but they saw a problem. If they only had licensed stuff, they were stuck. Studios and networks could raise prices or just pull their content whenever they want.
So original content, that was their way of being in control. But wasn't that a massive gamble, especially with a show like House of Cards?
Huge gamble. They put $100 million into House of Cards,
Yeah.
a show no one else wanted. It was a big risk, and it paid off big time. House of Cards, it put Netflix on the map, showed they were serious about making their own content. And
Yeah.
it gave them something else, a data advantage.
Data advantage. Okay, I need you to explain that one.
Think about it. Netflix knows everything you watch. When you watch it, even when you pause, rewind, fast forward, they use that data to figure out what people like and what to make next.
So they're not just guessing what shows to make, they're using data to decide.
Exactly. They're using data to make smart choices about their content. And that's given them a huge leg up on traditional networks. But even with all that success, there have been bumps in the road. Remember Quickster?
Oh yeah, Quickster. That was a mess, wasn't it? Didn't they try to separate DVDs and streaming?
They did, and it was a disaster. They basically raised prices and made things more complicated at the same time. It's a classic example of not understanding what your customers really want.
It seems like they've always been on this edge between doing something new and making their customers mad.
They have, and that leads us to Netflix today, where the stakes are higher than ever. Streaming is everywhere now. They're facing tough competition from every direction.
The streaming wars are definitely heating up. You've got the big names, HBO, Disney, all launching their own platforms, pulling their content from Netflix, fighting for subscribers.
And then you have the tech giants, Apple, Amazon, even YouTube. They all want a piece of our time and our money. It's a whole different world from when Netflix was the only streaming game in town.
Okay, so how do they keep up in this new world? They can't just sit back and relax. What are they doing to stay ahead?
Well, they're going all in on original content, but with a twist. They're trying new things, new formats, new experiences, interactive stories, gaming, even live events.
Interactive storytelling, like Bandersnatch, where you get to choose what happens.
Exactly. It's about giving viewers control, making them part of the story. It can be really smart in a world where there's so much content out there. And our attention spans are, getting shorter.
But all this new stuff, it has to be expensive, right?
It is,
Yeah.
and it's a risk.
Yeah.
But Netflix is betting that these innovations will pay off. They want to keep people subscribing by offering something you can't get anywhere else.
So more interactive content, more immersive experiences. But what about their core business? What are they doing about the problems they've been having? Like fewer new subscribers and all this competition?
That's where things get interesting and maybe a little controversial. They're cracking down on password sharing, which some people are really upset about. But it's a way to protect their revenue.
Yeah, I've seen people complaining about that online. It does feel like a bit of a betrayal, doesn't it? Netflix used to be the cool alternative to cable, and now they're doing this. And they're even adding ads.
It's a big change, definitely. It shows the tough choices they have to make. They're trying to grow and change without making their core audience mad.
Sounds like they're walking a tightrope. But is it the right move?
That's the big question.
Mm-hmm.
A cheaper plan with ads, it might bring in new people who are worried about the price, but it could also make the brand seem less special and annoy people who are already paying.
And then there's the whole thing about content quality. Are they just making a ton of stuff without caring if it's good? Are they canceling shows too quickly? I have definitely seen people complaining about that too.
Those are valid points. They have been making a lot of content, and not all of it has been great. It feels like they're trying to do too much, trying to please everyone, and maybe ending up pleasing no one.
So it's like this dilemma. How do they appeal to more people without losing the quality that made people love Netflix in the first place? It's like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Exactly. And it brings up a really important question. Are they making the same mistakes as Blockbuster? Are they so focused on getting more money out of their current customers that they're forgetting about innovation, about keeping their audience happy?
Ooh, that's a good question. Are they becoming the very thing they disrupted?
It's possible. But we can't forget, Netflix has a history of surprising everyone and adapting to change. They've changed direction multiple times, and each time they've found a way to succeed.
Okay, so they're good at reinventing themselves, but this time feels different, doesn't it? The competition is intense, how people watch things is changing fast, and they're making decisions that seem to be upsetting some of their loyal fans.
You're right. And this leads us to a bigger, more fundamental question. What's the future of entertainment in a world where everyone's attention is divided?
Ooh, I like that. We're going even deeper. What do you mean by divided attention?
Think about it. Netflix's biggest competition might not be other streaming services. It might be anything that takes up your time. TikTok, YouTube, video games, even sleep.
Wait, are you saying that me wanting to get a good night's sleep is a threat to Netflix?
Well, not directly, but the point is we all have a limited amount of time and attention. And with so many entertainment options, companies are fighting for every minute of it.
That makes sense. I mean, I've definitely lost hours to TikTok, watching cat videos and cooking tutorials.
And that's exactly what Netflix is up against. It's not just about having the best shows or the cheapest price. It's about grabbing our attention and holding on to it, even when our attention spans are getting shorter.
So how do they fight this attention battle? Can they really win against all those cat videos and dance challenges?
That's the big question they're trying to answer right now. One thing they seem to be doing is using their data even more. Remember, they have a ton of information about what people watch and how they watch it.
You mean that algorithm thing, right? I hear people say Netflix's recommendations are either amazing or totally off.
That's true. Their recommendation system is powerful. But it's not perfect. They're always tweaking it, trying to make it more personal, show you stuff you might not even know you'd like. It's about really understanding their audience, knowing what they'll want next. And that's something they'll need to keep getting better at to succeed in this new world.
But isn't that kind of a trap? Like, I've felt stuck in a Netflix bubble before, where the algorithm only shows me things I've already seen or stuff that's just like it. How do they get people out of that bubble and show them new things?
You're right. That's one of the problems with relying too much on algorithms. They need to find a balance between giving people what they know they like and helping them discover new things, things they might not expect.
So it's not just about having a huge library of content. It's about making that library feel personal and interesting for each person.
Exactly. They need to make it easy to find what you're looking for, but also surprise you, show you something you never knew you wanted.
It all comes back to that divided attention thing, right? With so many choices out there, the companies that win, they're the ones that can break through all the noise and offer something really special.
Absolutely. It's not just about the best shows or the lowest price anymore. It's about creating an experience that grabs your attention and keeps you coming back.
So where does all this leave Netflix? They've got more competition, people are changing how they watch things, and they're trying to keep the quality up while making a ton of content. Can they really pull off another reinvention?
I think they can. They've done it before. They've shown they can adapt and innovate, but it's not going to be easy. They need to keep investing in good, original content that people connect with, but they also need to be smarter about how they spend their money. Focus on shows that have a chance of really standing out.
No more just throwing stuff out there and hoping for the best.
Right? They need to be more strategic, more careful about what they choose, and they need to use their data to their advantage. Make the experience feel personal. Make sure people are seeing the right content at the right time.
But data can only do so much, right? They still need to be creative, take risks, try new things.
Absolutely. They need to find ways to make content that's truly unique, something you can't find anywhere else. And they need to keep playing with new formats, new technologies, find new ways to grab our attention.
It's a lot to ask, but it's exciting to watch. Makes you wonder, what's next for Netflix? Will they stay on top of the entertainment world, or will they be another example of a company that couldn't keep up?
It's a story that's not finished yet, and as we've seen with Netflix, it's full of surprises.
Exactly. This deep dive has been wild, and it's clear that Netflix is still figuring things out. Will they stay on top, or will they be another company that couldn't adapt? Who knows, but one thing's for sure, this story is far from over.